You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's MLB update. You saw the ad for BetUs.com, bringing you, partially brought to you, all the shows on National Streaming Sports and TGI Sports Talk are brought to you in part by BetUS. I'm going to remake the commercial. I'm not really crazy about it. Sorry, Mac, if you're listening. It's nothing personal. Good to have you all with us today. Lots to talk about. Welcome everybody watching today on Facebook, YouTube, on the TGI Sports Talk side of things. On the National Streaming Sports side of things, we're live on Roku, as we are pretty much all our shows now are live on Roku. Get those Roku channels downloaded on your Roku apps. You can have a Roku TV or a Roku app. You can look for the channel. I know some of you have commented, Paul Spada specifically, about the giant head they see. We'll see if we get my favorite basement buddy in later. Comment on my appearance today. Also, a quick shout out to Ralph Williams. We have a quick shout out to the people at Bet Us. We'll play that ad again later. Again, bet responsible, guys, but bet within your head. Lots of great stuff there to play. If you're a college football bettor, lots of good stuff. I've used a competitor for different years, and I've now done a few things on BetUS. And outside of not having a phone app, it's a really good site. And they're giving you some free money, too. Shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff over there, specifically the Sports Corner, which is returning on September 3rd from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch him on Facebook and YouTube. And yours truly will be a guest at 4:30 on the 3rd. Or put that in my calendar. I'm off and I'm liable to forget. Also, a quick shout out to the sports authorities and John Gonzalez, Bottom Line Sports and Flow and a Gang, Ken Krause at Golf Buds Sports and More, and Greg Rawling at America's Pastime, The Love for Baseball. All great groups, all great supporters of this show. So welcome, everybody. Oh, by the way, thanks to my guest this morning on 101 with Keith Engle, Ernie D. Gregorio, former Providence standout, and played with the Braves, was Rookie of the Year. Really good, really good ball player. And we had a lot of fun talking to Ernie today. Great college basketball player. Who's with us this morning or this afternoon? We got lots to talk about today. That's me. That's my automatic thing, by the way. So when you see this, guys, nobody's asking you to do it. It comes up. It's automatically done by Facebook now. So good afternoon, Rick Sherlock. Good to have you with us. Thanks for watching and commenting this morning. I know I got a nice little note from Rick after the interview this morning. Rick is a big supporter of the interview portion of TGI Sports Talk. We're in that time of year where it's getting a little rough to get guests. I've got one booked for September. We don't know what we'll do next week. I got a bunch of feelers out, actually, and one that I think might come through for next week. Not sure. But I got a bunch of guys that have just pushed me off. So timing wise. So we'll get that worked out. Today it's baseball though, guys. White Sox continue on their quest for a new record number of losses and a record low number of fans. What did they have at the game the other day? 17 people, did I read? I saw a picture. I couldn't even count them. Oh, my God. They're on pace right now for 125 losses. My God. But nobody, it's funny, except for like the NL Central. I mean, all the divisions seem to be kind of stuck in the mud right now and just kind of, 5-5, 4-6, 6-4. I mean, nothing exciting going on other than, the White Sox chase. Yankees lose 2 to Washington is not a good deal there. Couple teams are playing well. Who we got here? Dodgers are 8-2 over the last 10. They've moved their lead to 4 over the Diamondbacks, 5 over the Padres. Rangers have played better, but is it going to matter? Tigers 7-3, still 5 back in the wild card. Excuse me. Royals get it moving. They get closer to Cleveland. It is the Cleveland Indians. You're right. I laughed the other day, Rick, when you corrected Mac because I do the same thing. But anyway, lots of stuff to look at. I'm going to look at we'll look at some of the managers on the hot seat too as we get closer and closer to the off season. There's going to be some musical chairs again, as always. The Angels bring up their top couple of prospects. There's lots going on. Rich Hill pitching his 20th consecutive season. I keep telling you guys, if you're young, teach your young boys. I'll get in trouble. Teach them to be left-handed, man. They can pitch forever. Rich Hill's not any good anymore. They can pitch forever. They don't have to be any good. Couple other notes here. Mariners haven't really gotten a great spark from the Dan Wilson move. They did stop the bleeding a little, I guess, but still not playing great. Walker demoted to the bullpen by the Phillies. Not surprising. Tawan Walker has folded in the second half every single year of his career that I can think of. Met fans know well. The Judge Ohtani watches go on. Judge continues to hit home runs. People continue to pitch to him for some reason. And by the way, I don't know what you guys think of Stephen A. Smith. There's times I like Stephen A. Smith. There's other times, just shut up. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't shut up or don't talk. Don't shut up. No, please do the opposite of that. And I have it's good here. When I make a gaffe, which isn't unusual, I've got you guys to straighten me out. And I correct my mistake. And I own up to my mistakes. He was talking about Aaron Judge the other day. And he said so much of his success had to be attributed to the fact that Juan Soto has batted behind him. And that's tremendous protection. And you can't just not consider that. Well, there's only one problem with that. Juan Soto's batted in front of Aaron Judge every single game he's played this year. I think he started 120 games, and Judge has started 130 or back, one way or the other. And each time he's batted second and Judge has batted third. And as far as I know, he hasn't corrected himself to this moment. How do you do that? There's the Mike Francesa syndrome at WFAN. Some of you may probably know WFAN and Mike Francesa. Some of you don't. Chris in Toronto, Danny. Hello, guys, by the way. I'll get your comments in just a second. But Francesa would make all these outrageous statements, and then when he was wrong, the tapes disappear. I make outrageous statements all the time, and when I'm wrong, I'm held accountable by you guys, and I hold myself accountable. It's okay to be wrong, right? I tell you guys all the time, man. I go by oh my God, who's Billy Packer axiom of I'm often wrong, but never in doubt. No, I'm sometimes wrong. Sometimes wrong, but never in doubt. That's me. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'll tell you. Chris F. Grave. Good to have you with us. Chris, again, thanks for the gift. I will show you guys quickly. Chris sent me circa 1991. I'm trying to see what's the... it's funny. It used to be Topps, right? Made these cards. Who makes these cards now? Premier baseball cards. We got some good ones. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but Otis Nixon. I got me a Roger Clemens. Still with the Red Sox. Can't see that, right? My hand's in the way. The light's no good. There you go. Who else? Ozzie Smith, Dennis Martinez. That's funny. Never heard him called Denny Martinez. Cal Ripken, Roberto Alomar, Dave Parker, Jack Clark, Robin Yount, great player, Robin Yount, Steve Bedrosian, Rene Gonzalez, Dennis Boucher, Darryl Strawberry, Doc Gooden. No Yankees, I noticed, by the way. Chris kept those for himself. Anyway, Chris says, Royals in the crunch now for playoff first baseman, Luke Voigt. Jose Abreu would be a wonderful story. Where's Abreu playing? I don't know that he's played. Did he go to the Mexican League? I don't know where he went. I don't think he went anywhere. And he wasn't hitting his weight when the Astros released him. And by the way, if they aren't on the roster by tomorrow night, they can't play in the playoffs. So who does and that's, listen, I'm happy Luke Voigt. Oh, he said that one wrong. Drew catches me on that one every time. Let's see, who's their first baseman? I don't even know. Royals are flying under the radar, man, but playing great base. I mean, still 15 games over 500. I really thought they would fall back by now. Well, Salvador Perez is listed as their number one first baseman. He's also their number one catcher. So if he's playing both those positions at once, he may be the best player in Major League Baseball history. Something to think about there. No, I think Melendez catches a lot. Melendez plays the outfield a lot. I don't know that this team wants to mess with their chemistry, though. I understand they probably need another bat, but it's too late. I mean, it's August 30th. Again, you got to get them in by tomorrow. They can play in September, but they can't play in the postseason. So let's get our mistakes corrected. Which ones did I make already? Did I make mistakes already, Danny? I'm willing to jump in and fix them. This is wow. Where is he, by the way? Jesse Chavez is a great story if we're talking about the same guy, because I think there's a couple of them. What's he doing this year? We'll find out. Because if it's the same guy I think of, so is he with Texas now? I don't know where he is. Oh, this poor guy. Here's the teams that Jesse Chavez has pitched for: Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Kansas City, Oakland, Toronto, Dodgers, Angels, Rangers, Cubs, Rangers again, Atlanta again. So he's played with Atlanta twice. Let me get done here. Atlanta, the Cubs again, the Angels again, Atlanta again. So he's played with Atlanta 3 times. What a great story. Is he having a decent year? He's all right. Problem is, the Braves right now are in the postseason. And by the way, he's right-handed too, isn't he? This is amazing. A righty sticks around as long as him. He's been a decent major league pitcher. He's had a lot of bad years, though, by the way. I mean, he's got ERAs. Where are they? I'm looking at it, Justin. You know, I got to tell you, I live and die by the baseball reference, but they're really cluttering up my reference point. with nonsensical stats, and they're just in my way. What you should do is allow me to customize my page for myself, because you're just making this very tough for me to figure out the things I want to figure out. He's had a 4.26 ERA over his career. He's 3.40 this year. So I misreceived. That's what was happening. I was reading the wrong column. He is having a decent year this year. Finished 15 games. Been a good cog for the Braves in his fourth time around with them. He's had some rough years, though, man, and he's somehow managed to hang on. I mean, here early in his career, 6.60. 5.89 for the year. 9.85 for the year. 4.43. I mean, he's been, again, I'm not trying to denigrate him. You stick around for 20 years in the major leagues, you're doing something right? But he's always been a favorite of mine because you never know where he's going to pop up. He's like Waldo. So it's interesting to have him here. Believe it or not, sometimes I like Stephen A. Smith. I like Paul Feinbaum a lot. I watch Feinbaum every day. Well, I have him on next to me at my desk, usually with just the closed caption. And then when I'm not in meetings or whatever, I'll have the volume on. But I listen to him a lot. A lot of great stuff, not just SEC stuff. McAfee, there's days I like him. There's other days where he's drunker than a skunk, like he probably was last week in Ireland, and I don't. But Stephen A., you cannot portray yourself to be, he should not talk baseball anyway, because he knows nothing about what he's talking about. Nothing. Stephen A. is really good with basketball. I think he's pretty good with football as a rule. And his job is to be over the top anyway, right? To be outrageous. But the problem is, you could have a take that Aaron Judge is, and there's no mistaking for me the fact that he wanted to say, yeah, Aaron Judge is really good, but he's a bit overrated because of this. And this he had totally wrong. Juan Soto's not batted behind Aaron Judge once this year. So, again, these guys are, I do find it a little hard to believe you like all three of those guys, Rick, but that's good. I mean, look at everybody's got something to offer. And then there's guys just like me. I got something to offer, and I'm sure I turn lots of people off, like the guy who doesn't like my head. Chris Afgrave is the man. He sent me a Fernando card, just priceless. I know, right? You got a Dodger, though. I didn't get a Yankee. Here I am complaining about free gifts. I'm sorry. That's kind of rude of me. Actually, where was Jack Clark was with the Red Sox at that point. There's a lot of these guys that would like to have played with the Yankees for sure. A lot of Blue Jays in there, Chris. Chris is the man. He is the man. You guys are all the men. You're all the men. Twins playing really well, by the way. That's a great point that I would have got to here, Danny, as I was looking at the stats earlier. Right now, the Twins are in the playoffs. Twins and Royals both would be in the playoffs if they ended today. The funny part is, here's the thing. The Royals are on a 2-game losing streak. The Twins are on a 4-game losing streak, only 2-8 in their last 10. So we factor in where they came from. Remember, right through May, Twins fans were calling for Rocco Baldelli's head. How's this Dodger blue look today, anyway, with the baseball field behind me, Danny? Danny's become one of my favorites. You're all my favorites. I shouldn't say that because I don't want to make anybody upset, right? Danny's only the most dedicated guy, only because he gets up so early for that 8:30 show on Sundays. You guys all bring so much to the plate here. You have no idea. I was telling who was I telling the other day? Patty Blyleven. She popped in on the I think the MLB broadcast. No, it was a Sunday stream of consciousness and said hello and how much she liked it. It's Bert Blyleven's ex-wife, by the way. And I was talking to her on Messenger, as we do now and again. We've had the same political views, but that's kind of where we connect. But we talked about how my shows, I like I like the interview show, right? But I love the interview show. Don't get me wrong. But I love these shows where the audience, especially Sundays, you guys have just gone above and beyond. I want to play off the audience. And it usually works really well, right? And there are days you guys aren't there or aren't as talkative, then I'll talk more. But you guys really bring this to fruition and make this show what I always envisioned it to be. Not just this show, my shows. Ian Anderson has not been back yet to my knowledge, Rick. Let me just take a quick look at their I think we'll probably see him in September. Hang on. We'll take a quick look here. Ian Anderson, Shenenda Hall graduate right up the street from me, was their number one draft pick. Gosh, I don't remember how long ago now. Had Tommy John surgery, if I remember right, 2 years ago, and it's not been back yet since. Nope. Ian Anderson has not pitched yet. He's also Dave Guyette, who often pops into the show's cousin. So we hope to get Ian on the show at some point, the one-on-one show. You know what I want to do, Rick, too, is Andre Jackson. I keep meaning to reach out to one of his aunts or uncles. I mean, Joe Altieri or Jackie Perlow. We'll see if I can get them on before their camp starts. And I'm probably getting close to missing out on that. I know he's been in Amsterdam and doing some functions and whatnot. And I'd like to see if I can get him on the show before he goes to training camp. You know, Danny says, Chris knows I ripped the Stankies. Listen, here's the thing. And Chris, I think you're the same way. And I think I've talked about this before. With you, Danny, and certainly there's some of the people have heard this from me over and over again. Just noticed I need a haircut. Jesus, look at my hair. Wow. If I can grab my hair, I got too much hair. Out to Armando's, by the way, for dinner tomorrow night up in Rotterdam. Tremendous Italian. We'll have some fun tomorrow night. Sorry, ADD's catching up with me. My teams I'm very tough on. Yankees, Patriots, Knicks. I want to be wrong in my assessments, right? I always want them to do well. Again, I'm still very concerned about this team come playoff time. I'm not going to pretend I'm not. But it doesn't mean I want to be right. Believe me, I can tell you this, Danny. And I think you take a good hard look at your teams. You'll never see me root against my team so I can come here and say, see, I told you. Aaron Boone, who, by the way, had better do something in the playoffs or he will be on that endangered species list we might talk about in a few minutes. That's just, heck, Mac McGrath took away my Yankee card 2 years ago, for crying out loud. Last year, I was right. Did they make the playoffs last year? Took away my Yankee card early in the year. Couldn't get it back. Big Twins game tonight. It's Analytics versus the Junior Jays. We'll look at all that in just a little bit too. The schedule. Any games being played right now as we speak? By the way, Brewers and Reds 4-4. David Bell's going to be in trouble. I know. I don't think Drew will be with us today. I think Drew's out of town this weekend. But I mentioned this when we did our midseason recap or update. And I said David Bell, the expectations for this team were a whole lot higher than what they've done here now. They tried several times, they've had spurts and tried to get back into it, but they just, again, 6 games under 500. Quite a ways out of the races and the wild card and let me get back here to the standings. They may be closer to the division lead. No, they can't be closer to the division lead, I don't think. 10.5 out in the division. Oops, wait a minute. Sorry. 13.5 out in the division. Their season's over. They're 9 games behind in a wild card with a bunch of teams to jump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 teams they got to jump to get to the wild card. That's not happening. That would, 30 games left? 29 games left? It's a fun team. But did Chris send you 2 autographs of Yankees? No, did he send them to you? There's no autographs on any of these. Where'd you get 2 autographs of Yankees, Rick? Oh, I remember. Where'd you get? Now, is that what you got from? I know Mac was going to send you something, but I think this went on before. Who was that? You had the autographs from Foxwood. I can't remember now. I don't know. This is a good year to root for the Yankees. Pompeii reference again. Is that the city that was buried by a volcano? Pin pulled from the grenade, expiring contracts, and who to invest in. This is going to be a very tough offseason for the Yankees. They are in it to win it because they are going to have to purge a lot. I personally don't think Soto's going to be a Yankee next year because how are you going to pay him? I mean, not how you're going to pay him. This is the Yankees, right? Not the Royals. But you can't pay him more than you pay Judge. You just can't. And you're not going to change Judge's contract at this point, I don't think. So I think Judge remains the highest paid Yankee at $60 million a year. And if Soto's going over 60, he's getting it somewhere else. Great player. I mean, he's been everything I expected him to be here. He's a really good bat. He's just a so-so defender and a so-so base runner. But that bat makes up for a lot of deficiencies elsewhere, right? I mean, the same deficiencies in Gleyber Torres are mind-blowing just because his bat doesn't make up for any of it. I would say both of them. Yeah, I would say that's exactly right. Both of those guys have to at least get to the World Series probably to keep their jobs. That'd be my guess. And I know I've gleaned, I think, Danny, and you can tell me if I'm wrong because I am wrong sometimes. I don't think you're the biggest Dave Roberts fan. I have been okay with Dave Roberts. I thought Dave Roberts did a tremendous job winning 100 games last year with the injuries that they had last year and have continued into this year. But the problem is it's great to win 100 games in the regular season, but if you don't do anything, if you whiff in the first round of the playoffs with home field advantage, that's not a good visual. He's got a World Series title, yes. Do you give it an asterisk, Danny? I know your boy Mark Mancini does. I mean, everybody played under the same rules, so I'm okay. Here's your World Series trophy. I'm okay with that. It's not like a midseason trophy for the Lakers, right? So I'm okay with that World Series championship and not putting an asterisk next to that. Again, it's not like they played under different rules than anybody else. So they have been a disappointment in the postseason, just like the Yankees have been every year since 2009. I mean, again, I think Dodger fans and I guess fans of other teams, maybe they don't get it. But a Yankee fan and a Dodger fan, it's not for, I'm just going to speak for myself as a Yankee fan. I think it's the same for Dodger fans. You can comment yourself, Danny. And anybody else can comment on whether they feel the same way about their teams or not. As a Yankee fan, it's just not okay to not have been in a World Series in 15 years. One of the longest droughts they've ever had. It's not okay. I'm sorry. That's one World Series, not in 15 years. It's one World Series in 21 years, going back to 2003. They won a World Series. So they won one World Series, and they've been in two, I guess we can say, since 2003. That's not okay. Maybe it's okay for Royals fans. If you're a Rocky fan, you might sign up for that. Marlins fans would, and they're the last team to beat the Yankees in a World Series. But it's just not okay. And Cashman's gotten a pass, and Boone now has gotten a pass, and the guy that I wanted has got his team. Well, they haven't played well recently. They've been to a World Series in the last 2 years, nearly won one when they looked like they were dead in the water when they fired Joe Girardi. Rob Thompson's one of the better managers in baseball. I know, Mac. I don't know if you pop in today, Mac, don't take offense. Mac doesn't think managers matter. Well, they should matter. And if yours doesn't, there's something wrong with the formula. Guarantee you Bruce Bochy matters in Texas and mattered last year. Right? Guarantee you Terry Francona mattered when the Red Sox were winning World Series and the Yankees weren't winning any. And they came back from 3-0 deficit. I'm just saying, there are guys like Aaron Boone who I feel like, as long as Cashman's going to dictate and say, here's your script today, Aaron, I think they matter. Where was that? Rick Schock, you might be more of an instigator than I. No, this room's full of instigators, by the way. It's funny, Rick. I sent to. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot all about that. They're on my wall. My wall is covered. Those are on my wall behind me with pictures of Mantle and Maris. I forgot about that, Rick. Thank you so much for reminding me. Now I feel ungrateful. Very, very grateful for Rick for sending me those. The Amsterdam Mohawks always have a hot stove dinner every year, and there's I think that's where they were from, if I remember right, Rick. I apologize for my faulty memory, but they're framed it in my on my wall behind me. You don't see it because we're in the studio here. But Danny, as far as being instigator, it's funny. I want to go back to this real quick, and I'll get back to you. We'll get back to some baseball here in a second. I don't think, Rick, and I'll throw this at you, and with Danny talk about instigators, the king of the hill has been Billy Pulver, who doesn't come in as much as he used to. He pops in now and again to say hi from wherever he is. We call him Waldo, right? He's my ex-brother-in-law. But Billy was the king of the instigators. He started it on the show, and he handed it down to Rick and Kenny, and now Danny is helping out with that regard. So we have a room full of them, but we like that. Danny says Soto should look for 8 years deferred contract. 8 years deferred contract in 8 years, $60 million will be a thing of the past. In 8 years, $60 million will be a thing of the past, meaning it's going to be $80 million. Here's the thing with these guys, too, and I have this conversation a lot on other shows, not as much here. I'm okay. I always say, I think guys are worth whatever somebody's willing to pay. Somebody's willing to pay me $60 million, I would take it in a heartbeat. Whether you earn it is a different story. Now, also, along with those lines, if you feel you should get $60 million over 8 years, 10 years, whatever we're going to talk about, however many years, great. Guaranteed money. But you can't do that and also say, I want opt-outs every 2 years or after 2 years after 2 years and 4 years and 6 years because my contract's going to be obsolete. Well, then sign a 2-year contract. If you feel your contract's undervalued will be undervalued in 2 years, don't sign that contract. I'm not going to guarantee you this money, which is not chump change, folks, and let you opt out when you think you're underpaid. There's something to be said for guaranteed money versus I'll roll a dice and play for 1 year and get a bigger contract next year, 2 years or 3 years, whatever. No more opt-outs. These teams have got to smarten up. Danny's definitely not a Robert fan, so he wanted Mike Scioscia. That would have been a great hire for the Dodgers, and I believe he'd already been fired by the Angels when Roberts got that job. Mike Scioscia did a great job with the Angels until his last couple of years there, but the organization had started to fall apart. It wasn't Mike Scioscia's fault. Scioscia won a World Series. How many other managers in Angels history have won a World Series? I'll give you a hint. None. How many other Angel managers have been to a World Series? None. Scioscia, and he's an ex-Dodger, right? I mean, he would have been a great fit. Would you still hire him, Danny? I mean, how old is Mike Scioscia now? How old is Mike Scioscia? By the way, what a great catcher he was, too. I can tell you one of the, people always talk about 65 years old. He is not too old to manage again. And I'll tell you something about Mike Scioscia, Danny. 1988, right? People always remember Kirk Gibson hitting a home run with 2 bad legs. It was only a bat in the World Series, and it really catapulted that Dodger team that was really lacking in talent compared to the A's team they were playing. Everybody remembers that. As do I. It's one of the great moments in baseball, which, by the way, couldn't happen now because of the pitch clock. Just saying. I mean, it could happen. The home run could happen. But the drama that built up there could never happen again. Something that gets lost is Mike Scioscia hit a huge home run. Danny, I'm going to guarantee you remember this. A huge home run against the Mets in the NLCS against Doc Gooden, I think, when the tide that really turned the tide, I think, in that series, and helped get that Dodger momentum rolling. Maybe more so than the Gibson home run in some ways. So feel free to comment there or just ignore what I just said. With that said, I think Roberts is a puppet, as I feel about Boone, and a nice guy, as I do about Boone. He does what he's told, as I feel about Boone. No feel for the flow of the game. Exactly what I feel about Boone. We've got the same exact manager on both teams. And part of the problem with managers in general, Danny, is none of them have a feel for the flow of the game anymore. Because they all go by these charts, right? Okay, this is my 6th inning guy. This guy can only pitch 90 pitches, no more. This guy's got to pitch the 6th inning. This guy's got to pitch the 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning. I got my script already. It doesn't matter that, your 7th inning guy might have got 3 strikeouts on 3 pitches, which I guess would be some kind of record. Whatever, 3 outs on 3 pitches. 3 strikeouts on 9 pitches. Just pitching lights out. We just take them out of the game because this script I have says I should. All managers, most managers, I shouldn't say all. Try not to speak in absolutes because there's always an exception. Have really lost a feel for the game. They don't manage by their gut. And it's unfortunate. It's sad for baseball. It's sad for a whole generation of people, I think. Yes, there you go. Rick. And Kenny helps him. Kenny's like his vice president in charge of instigation. Danny, you're certainly in the cabinet, I can tell you for sure. Deferred contracts, max up front, and the rest comes in your retirement. It's popular again. That's the Bobby Bonilla model. Well, that's also Ohtani's model, right? I mean, he's not getting paid that much money right now. By the way, I did bring this up last week. Why is he throwing off the mound already? I mean, they can't be thinking about pitching him, right? I meant to do a little more research on this, and I never did. But I saw a video of him throwing off the mound last week, 2 weeks ago. And maybe it's just rehab work, but I know there's a strong sentiment among some shows on national streaming sports. By the way, I didn't think Let's Talk Sports at the top, and I need to thank Let's Talk Sports because Tanner and the gang still are very supportive of this show, even though I'm not broadcasting live there any longer. A mutual decision, because I didn't want to exclude Facebook. It's where my audience is. But there's a strong opinion on some folks, among some folks, that he will never pitch again. I don't believe that. He's a great player, and maybe you shouldn't pitch him and risk the bat, but he's too good a pitcher to just not pitch. And plus, you're paying him $70 million to do both things, not just DH. I mean, he's a great bat. He's a great talent, but you're not paying $70 million to a DH. They expect him to pitch. Anyway, let's look at the did I have anything else I want to? Oh, a couple managers. Well, I got time here. Couple managers. I want to look. I pulled some people up, and we'll talk about whether we think anybody else is in trouble. This is just an article from 2 days ago. Hottest seats. We already talked about Boone and Roberts. Their playoff. The regular season isn't going to matter. These guys could win 100 games, which won't happen, I don't think, in either case. But they're in trouble. I also think A.J. Hinch with the Tigers could be in trouble. They didn't have huge expectations coming into this season. Some people did think they were a playoff contender like myself, and they still are only 5 games back. But he's still looking for his first winning season in Detroit after, unfortunately taking a fall in Houston for the most overrated. Sorry, Danny. The most overrated scandal in the history of sports. And, well, second maybe, because there's another team that I root for that has been involved in a couple. Derek Shelton. I mean, it seems every year the Pirates get themselves into some kind of position to make a move, and then they fall flat on their face. And it's happened later and later in the season. This year it didn't happen until the middle of August, but they were right in the middle of the wild card race and lost 10 or 11 games in a row. That can't keep happening. They've bottomed out in the second half 3-4 years in a row with David Shelton. It's time to move on. David Bell, great expectations for the Reds this year. Still 6 games under 500, made a couple runs. It's a very competitive division, of course, but, 1-run games are 10-24. That's something that gets managers fired. Absolutely gets managers fired. Postseason pressure. We talked about Roberts and Boone probably needing World Series appearances to keep their job. There's a couple guys who probably can't wait to get fired. Skip Shoemaker in Miami, for one, did a really good job, I thought, in 2023. Got that team to a wild card, but they don't care about winning in Miami. They just don't care. And I think Skip would be happy to get fired because I think he'll get another job pretty quickly. Bud Black in Colorado would be another guy that comes to mind. I don't think Bud Black is going to manage again. But Bud Black had a good run in San Diego. For the most part. It's been nightmare in Colorado. And they, again, another team that either doesn't know how or doesn't care about putting a team together that can win. Mark Kotsay. I felt sorry for Mark Kotsay when he got hired. I'll tell you this. I mean, it's not going out on a limb. He's not going to make it to Las Vegas. That's for sure. I mean, that might be 5 years from now. I'm not sure he's going to make it to Sacramento. And I'll say it again. Sacramento, you're going to spend, whatever. They're going to spend a lot of money on a minor league ballpark that holds, I want to say 12, 14,000. I'm not sure. They may draw more than the White Sox. I know the White Sox stink, but 17? Am I right? They had 17 fans at a game on Wednesday, whatever day it was, for a day game. Picture I saw looked like there was while the game was going on. And by the way, White Sox have talked about moving if they don't get a ballpark. They just built them a ballpark 20 years ago. Ballparks only have a 20-year shelf life now, I guess. But fans, you got to support your team. If you're only going to support them when they win, I've read a lot of books. I talk about this all the time. The A's. I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for Oakland. I really don't. I know the ballpark stinks. I get that. But you don't support that team. You didn't support them when they were winning. I was reading a book recently about 1973, and a lot of it had to do with the baseball season in 1973. And they talked about how, in the playoffs, I sound like Jim Mora. They had all they could do to get 20,000 people in the ballpark. Some nights. Now, there were nights that they would pack the place, but during the regular season, they're playing in front of 4,000 or 5,000 people. You people never came out and supported this team, ever. I don't blame you for not supporting this team. But White Sox fans, it's not like they put out a putrid product year after year after year, like the A's, basically. Dave Martinez is an interesting potential firing, I guess. I mean, he won a World Series in 2019. The question always is, how long does that give you? How long can you live off that? It's hard to believe. That's been like 5 years. It'll be 5 years in October. Right? And they've done a lot of losing since then. Now they tore the team down, of course, when they traded Soto and traded Scherzer. They trade everybody away or let them leave. Soto, Trey Turner. But somebody takes the fall at some point. Up in Toronto, I'm shocked it hasn't happened yet, Chris. John Schneider's still somehow the manager of the Blue Jays. I don't think he makes it to next year. They made wild card berths in 22 and 23. Bad loss last year when they had a chance to really do some damage, I thought. Still 5 games under 500 this year. Donnie Baseball sitting there on the bench next to him, and I hope the Yankees get to him before the Blue Jays do. And I would think another guy's Oliver Marmol with the Cardinals. He's got one title since he's been there. They're in danger of finishing, at or below 500 this year for the second straight year. That's not good enough in St. Louis. I talked about what's not good enough in New York. St. Louis has got I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have the second most World Series victory. Maybe it's third. No, I think it's the second. If I'm not mistaken, it's Yankees and St. Louis as far as World Series victories in their history. And this team also has not had that many really bad years, over the over the decades. They've had a couple of bad stretches here and there, but it's not okay. I mean, I was watching a game on MLB extra innings the other day from St. Louis, and it was like dead. And that's a place there's generally a lot of energy in the ballpark. Nothing going on. Danny, Sacramento River Cats, 10-6 fixed seats, 14,000 max. What a joke. I think that 14,000 is with the renovations that they're going to do before the A's get there. And they'll have more people than they have go there now. It is a joke. Danny says, so why did Vegas get the Faderettes up and running in 2 years and a joke of an NHL? Wow. Pretty sure they didn't they win a Stanley Cup in their first year or go to Stanley Cup in their first year? I'm not sure why they're joking. I might be missing something there. In 2 years, but we won't let you suffer like all the other expansion teams. Oh, I see. Oh, I see what you're saying there. Now I get it. I should have read the whole thing. I don't really understand it myself. They don't even have, as far as I know, Danny, they haven't even totally secured the funding for a stadium yet. So you announced you're going to move, what, a year ago? Or close to it. How do you even decide you're moving to a city that has not secured funding for a stadium? And by the way, I'm not for publicly funded stadiums anyway. I mean, George Steinbrenner did a great job in New York, fleecing the city of New York out of renovations on the old Yankee Stadium that were about double what the estimates were. And then for the new Yankee Stadium, now he put some money in. There's only a handful. We talk about this a lot. There's only a handful of 100% privately funded stadiums in the country, one being Foxborough. And I don't remember the others off the top of my hat, but. Hello, Shavu. How are you? I hope that's not I will check my inbox. So Shavu, I'm guessing, wants to sell me on his ability to get my podcast 5 million views. Or you tell me, Shavu, what's in my inbox? I'm not checking it right now. I'm on a show. Or he's one of the bots that are telling me that if I don't click on this link, my Facebook page will go away because I've violated copyright. There's been complaints about content. There's been this. There's been that. It's all bogus, guys. That's how I think Northeast Streaming Sports lost their Facebook page. I think they probably did this. And the way I know it's not true is it's been going on for 6 months. Every day. Tomorrow you're losing your page. I'm not falling for your antics, guys. Go crawl back to your cellar and go from there. Funding's still in the air, and it is unbelievable. How do you? Wouldn't it be hilarious if it falls through? The Vegas move just falls through. What do they do then? Stay in Sacramento? In a 14,000 seat? Weren't they the Bees at one time, by the way? The ADD just kicked in again. Let's look at the schedule here. There you go. I knew so. I don't really share to the Apple or Spotify Shavu. So we do a video podcast, and I used to share the audio to Podbean, and it would go out to, quite frankly, it would get on Amazon. I'm not sure how. But it's not a place I've really focused because I like the video podcast format, not the audio. So, you can send me whatever you got. It's enough of that conversation on the show, right? I'll put the ads up that I can make money on that for you. So send me what you got and we'll talk about it. Let's look at the series that are getting played this week, shall we? Real quick. The MLB schedule. We already said the Bucks and the Reds were playing live right now. It was 4-4 a second ago. What is it right now? Where'd it go? The game disappeared. We refresh. The game has disappeared. Must be a final. Oh, it's a doubleheader. So the first game must be final. So I probably got to scroll all the way to the bottom here. 5-4, Brewers win. Reds lose another. David Bell, another nail in his coffin, potentially. They'll play another game later. We'll talk about that here as we go through the schedule. Anyway, this afternoon, it was Colin Ray against Nick Martinez. Milwaukee has won that game. Atlanta will play Philadelphia. This is a big series. Braves only 6 games back. If they want to get back in this. And listen, Brian Schnitker is, how do you say his name? Brian, shit. You know what I'm talking about. Has done a really good job keeping his team in a race. I mean, this team has been, I think, probably more decimated by any other team in injuries. It'll be Lopez against Suarez tonight. And as Chavez will maybe come in out of the bullpen, as Chris brought up earlier today. Boston will be at Detroit. That's a big series for the Tigers, who are trying to hang in that wild card race, and the Red Sox also are trying to hang in that wild card race. Tanner Houck against Undecided. Undecided has very meager numbers this year, by the way. And Tanner Houck, we had a discussion on him. He seems like his arm hasn't fallen off yet. This is 2 weeks ago. We had the conversation that he was gassed at 134 innings. As Nolan Ryan, was getting warmed up to come into a game. The second half of that Milwaukee-Cincinnati doubleheader will be DL Hall for Milwaukee. Came from Baltimore in that trade for Corbin Burns against Rhett Lauder. The Cubs will be at the Nationals. Undecided again against Jake Irvin. Padres at Tampa Bay. Martin Perez against Ty Bradley. The Cardinals and the Yankees. An interesting series this weekend. Eric Fetty against Marcus Stroman. Yankees need to start beating these teams up. Pittsburgh will be at the Cleveland team formerly known as the Indians. Bailey Falter against Ben Lively. The A's, who we just talked about, will be at Texas, where there'll probably be some fans in attendance. J.P. Sears against John Gray. The Royals and the Astros, pretty big series. Seth Lugo, the big surprise for the Royals against Valdez. The Mets against the lowly White Sox. The Mets can help their own cause to get out of the record book for most losses by giving Chicago 3 more this weekend. They're on a pace right now for 125 losses. To me, I don't see any way they don't get to 121. Toronto will be at Minnesota, as Chris mentioned earlier. That'll be Gausman against Pablo Lopez. Gausman, a bit of an underperformer this year. The Orioles will go to the Rockies. Suarez against Gumber. The Mariners will go to L.A. Kirby against Aldigeri. And by the way, the Angels brought up their top 2 pitching prospects, of which I believe Aldigeri is one of them. He's from Italy, by the way. And Dana is the other one. He may get to pitch this weekend as well. So something to look forward to there, I guess, if you're a Angels fan. Dodgers and Diamondbacks. Danny Fuller, big, huge series this weekend. Arizona's still hanging in there, playing much better baseball this second half. The lead, I think, is 4. It'll be Kershaw against Zach Gallen tonight. Nice pitching matchup there. And the hapless Marlins will travel to the Giants, who are still alive, against, that'll be Aller, against Blake Snell. There's your matchups for the weekend. Should be a pretty good weekend of baseball, I would say. Around the country. I think we covered everything we wanted to cover today. Tommy Pham released. I didn't mention that. We talked about the Angels comebacks. Amazon maybe make a big investment in Battle Diamond Broadcasting, which covers a lot of different Major League Baseball teams. I'm not sure how that'll impact people, but we'll see. We'll talk more about that as we go forward. And I guess we'll wrap it up with congratulations to Danny Jansen, the first player ever to play for two teams in the same game, when he suited up for the Red Sox against Toronto after being traded traded after a game that had been suspended. He started for the Blue Jays. So that's a new record. And by the way, also, it reminded me of Joel Youngblood, who is the only player ever to start for two different teams in two different cities, or play for two different teams in two different cities on the same day. I think that was back in 1982. I want to say, I could have the year wrong. Don't hold me to that. So anyway, good stuff. Danny, you're the man. Thank you. Thank you for, Jesus, I don't know why you guys thank me for all you do. I do for you guys, but you're welcome. I thank you and appreciate everything you guys do for me, because you keep me entertained and keep these shows rolling. And man, the views have been awesome, and it's not doing any small part to the contribution you guys give. So keep doing it, guys. Keep bringing it, and we'll see you on Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. Keith Engle out. Have a great holiday weekend. I'm going to be off. I'll be on the air. I'll be off myself work-wise till Wednesday.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly. You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk, on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.